And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mufasa's Daily Book Reading at Noon. My name is Mpomkwena, and I am your reader for today. We are still reading Stephen R. Covey's The Eighth Habit, and we're going to be reading chapter 10 today. Remember, if you've missed any of our readings and joining us for the first time, you can find all of our readings put into playlists curated just for you on our YouTube channel. The link to those playlists is on today's description of the live, and also you will find a coaching inquiries can be sent to our email address, which is also in the description of today's live. I hope that you've been having an absolutely amazing week so far. It's Wednesday, and we're going to be reading about blending voices, searching for the third alternative, which is better than a compromise. Hello to everyone who is watching this right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching this in the replay, thank you for interacting with us. Make sure that you leave a comment there in the comment section. We are so excited to have you here. My 10 minutes is set, and yeah, let's start reading. Blending voices, searching for the third alternative. Leaders do not avoid, repress, or deny conflict, but rather see it as an opportunity. And this is a quote by Warren Bennis. I am convinced that one of the most difficult and challenging problems of life, whether at home, at work, or elsewhere, is how you deal with conflict, how you deal with human differences. Think about your challenges. Is this not so? What if you had the character and the skill to resolve differences synergistically? That is, to find solutions that are better than those anyone has proposed. The capacity and ability to produce such synergistic solutions, such as creative cooperation, is built upon the foundation of moral authority at the personal level and trust in relationships. We did read more about trust in the last reading that we did. So make sure that you do have a look at that reading, and it is on obviously our YouTube channel. I once heard Gandhi's grandson, Arun Gandhi, share this penetrating insight about his grandfather. All in attendance at his speech were both humbled and electrified. Ironically, if it hadn't been for racism and prejudice, we may not have had a Gandhi. He may have been just another successful lawyer who had made a lot of money. But because of prejudice in South Africa, he was subjected to humiliation within a week of his arrival. He was thrown off a train because of the color of his skin, and it humiliated him so much that he sat on the platform of the station all night wondering what he could do to gain justice. His first response was one of anger. He was so angry that he wanted eye for eye justice. He wanted to respond violently to the people who humiliated him. But he stopped himself and said, "That's not right." It was not going to get him justice. It might have made him feel good for the moment, but it wasn't going to get him any justice. The second response was to want to go back to India and live among his own people in dignity. He ruled that out also. He said, "You can't run away from problems. You've got to stay and face the problems." And that's when the third response dawned on him, the response of non-violent action. From that point onwards, he developed the philosophy of non-violence and practiced it in his life, as well as in his search for justice in South Africa. He ended up staying in that country for 22 years, and then he went and led the movement in India. The third alternative isn't any way. It isn't your way. It's our way. It's not a compromise halfway between your way and my way. It's better than a compromise. A third alternative is what the Buddhists call the middle way, a higher middle position that is better than either of the other two ways. like the tip of a triangle. The third alternative is a better alternative than any that have been proposed. It is a product of sheer creative effort. It emerges from the overlapping and vulnerabilities of two or more people, from their openness, their willingness to really listen, their desire to search. You simply don't know where it's going to end up. All you know is that it's going to end up better than where it is now. The content may change, the spirit may change, the motive may change, even two or three of these may change, but always at least one. As with Gandhi, the third alternative usually starts within oneself, but it often takes the force of circumstances, like some people opposing you, before it really begins to take place within you. Did you notice from the quote by Gandhi's grandson the interplay between his personal inward struggle and his interpersonal relationships? Gandhi had to do considerable personal work before he could deal with his relationship challenges. It only takes one, the mindset of searching for the third alternative. Just as doing 20 push ups is a physical analogy or metaphor for personal success, I like to use the metaphor of an arm wrestle in my teaching to illustrate both the mindset and the skill set of searching for and achieving a third true alternative. I asked the audience to send a volunteer who is very strong and over 6 feet 3 to come up and take me on in an arm wrestle at the front of the room. Sounds so interesting. As the person is being coaxed and then is woken up, I start arrogantly telling the person to prepare to lose. I brag about my prowess, skill, strength, and black belt ranking. When they finally arrive up front, I tell them to repeat after me. I am a loser, which most cooperate in doing. I tell this monster of a person that it isn't a size of size. It isn't a matter of size. It's a matter of technique, and that I have it and he doesn't. I become cutting. As intended, the audience sympathizes, turns to my opponent. We get in the arm wrestle position with right foot against right foot and grab each other's hands in the middle. I then asked the table of people who volunteered my opponent if they would be willing to fund the contest. In other words, if he puts my arm down to the same level as our elbows, they would pay him $1. And if I put him down, then I would receive $1. They always agree. Then I asked someone nearby to be the timer. They are to tell us when to start, give us about a minute to wrestle, count the number of times he puts me down or I put him down, and then get the people at the table from which the volunteer came to fund the whole deal. $1 for each put down. I then make sure the funding group feels their pockets are sufficiently deep to sustain this contest. They always agree. It's the always agree for me. The timer tells us to begin. I immediately go limp and he puts me down. And usually he's very surprised and puzzled that I didn't resist. He wonders what's going on. So we go back up to the top position and I let him put me down again, and perhaps again and again. All the time he's expecting resistance, he usually starts feeling a little guilty, like he's being unfair. And then I simply say to him, you know what would really make you feel good would be for both of us to win as much as possible. He's usually intrigued, but because I so attacked him, he doesn't know if he can trust me. Perhaps those are just nice words. What if my real plan is to flip or manipulate him in some way to my own advantage? But as I continue to let him win with no resistance, his conscience usually becomes my advocate. and he becomes open to my suggestions that if we both win, we'll both win more. Hesitantly and with some struggle, he is usually finally willing to let me win one. Then we go back to the center position. Then I let him win without any resistance. And within a few more seconds, he starts going back and forth without any resistance. Occasionally, some volunteers still are puzzled and wonder what's going on. They continue to resist, but even eventually, it becomes a free flowing, easy, and effortless for both of us. Next, I say, now, why don't we really get efficient? Then we start just moving our wrists back and forth, which is about 5 times faster than moving the whole arm. Then we use both arms and double the result. Finally, I say, now let's get over to your table and do it in front of their faces so they can count the number of dollars They'll owe us. But this time, everyone is roaring and getting the message. I then explain to the audience that think win win. The mindset of searching for the third alternative is the idea or principle of mutual respect and mutual benefit. In the arm wrestle, even though I was pretending to be stronger, better, and more aggressive, in order to get my opponent into a win lose mindset, I actually brought a win win intention and mindset to the arm wrestle. And that concludes our reading for today. So interesting, right? So interesting. I hope that we can all find a think win win, the mindset of searching for the third alternative in everything that we do today and as we move forward within the rest of the year and really practice this principle. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. Let me look at my comments. I have one from Ayanda. Thank you so much for commenting. I like how at the beginning of each chapter he starts with the background quote. So true, really, really nice. And today's quote was by Warren Bennis. Leaders do not avoid, repress, or deny conflict, but rather see it as an opportunity. And I hope that you will continue to see all conflict and contrast in your lives as opportunities to become more. Thank you for today, for joining us today. I will see you on Friday. Goodbye.